Have you ever heard the kind of silence that screams? Oloro village was one of those places you didn't talk about at night. The elders would lower their voices when they mentioned it, and even the trees seemed to grow with caution. But 100 years ago, Oloro village was full of laughter, of children running around, and market women singing as they sold their goods. But everything changed one night. It was the kind of night when the moon hid behind the clouds, and the wind whistled like it was trying to say something. That was the night the witch came. She didn't arrive with a storm or fire. No. She came as a stranger, quiet, alone, and wrapped in a dark cloth that dragged on the dusty red earth. Her eyes, oh, her eyes. They weren't like anyone else's. One was as black as coal, and the other, as white as chalk. Nobody knew her name, but they called her Aragon, which means the lost one. She didn't speak much, but when she did, her voice sounded like 1,000 women whispering at once. And her laugh. It made grown men forget how to walk straight. One person wasn't afraid of her though, Mama Nimi, the village's oldest woman. She had seen war, famine, and death, but nothing scared her like this stranger. Still, she walked up to her with a cane in hand, her back bent but her spirit firm. Mama Nimi said, "You don't belong here. What are you looking for in Oloro village?" The witch tilted her head and smiled, her teeth sharp like broken pots. Ayagon replied, "I'm not looking, Mama. I'm remembering." And that was the beginning of the end. That night, the wind stopped blowing. The moon refused to shine. And before the rooster could crow, 3 children disappeared from their beds without a trace. Oloro was never the same again. And the curse? It had only just begun. When the rooster finally crowed that morning, something felt off. Mama Amina, who always sold roasted maize by the roadside, was the first to scream. Her daughter, Amina, only 10 years old, was gone. The mat she had slept on was still warm, but there was no sign of the child. Not even a footprint. Soon after, 2 other families found their children missing. Each case was the same, no doors broken, no cries heard in the night, just empty sleeping mats and confused parents with tears in their eyes. Panic swept through Oloro like wildfire. The chief called for a village meeting under the old Iroko tree. The people came in fear, some barefoot, some still in night wrappers, everyone murmuring like bees. And standing quietly near the edge of the gathering was the witch, Ayagon. She didn't speak. She just watched. Her head slightly tilted, and a faint smile playing on her lips. One man shouted, "She came and now our children are gone. It's her. She cursed this land." But no one dared go near her. Mama Amina stepped forward, trembling. "Give me back my Amina, please. I will do anything. Just give me back my child." Ayagon turned slowly and looked directly at her. Her voice was calm, too calm. Ayagon said, "Amina is safe. Safer than she was in this village. The curse is not new. I only awakened what was already buried." Confusion spread like smoke. The chief asked, "What curse? What are you talking about, witch?" She didn't answer. Instead, she walked away. And where her feet touched the ground, the grass withered, turning grey as ash. That night, drums didn't play. No one cooked. Mothers sat by doorposts holding their other children tighter than ever before. Fathers sharpened machetes with shaky hands, knowing deep down that weapons could do nothing against something like her. The people of Oloro village whispered prayers they had long forgotten. But the wind had stopped listening. The curse had only just begun to feed. And it was hungry. The next morning, Mama Nimi did something strange. She walked slowly toward the great baobab tree in the center of the village. Her back was bent with age, her wrapper dusty, but her eyes, oh, they were wide with fear and memory. All the villagers followed her. Even the children who remained clung to their mothers as they watched. Mama Nimi sat at the base of the tree and began to speak. Her voice was soft, like an old song, but each word carried a weight that pulled the air down. Mama Nimi said, "This is not the first time Oloro village has known darkness. You think this witch is new? No. I was just a girl the last time she came." A heavy silence fell. She looked up at the twisted branches of the baobab. They say 100 years ago, a woman from this village was accused of something terrible. Her name was Adoni. A healer, kind and gifted, but also feared. One night, a child died from fever. The villagers blamed her. They said she had cursed him. And without trial, they tied her to this very tree and burned her alive. Gasps broke through the crowd. But before she died, Mama Nimi continued, Adoni swore that her spirit would return. Not just once, but every 100 years, to collect what Oloro village took from her. She paused, her eyes misty. She said, "Your peace will end with the cry of the innocent. And your joy will be buried under the bones of your shame." The villagers looked around at one another, fear creeping into every heart like a cold hand. Someone whispered, "Ayagon, could she be Adoni?" Mama Nimi didn't answer. She just nodded slowly and added, "The curse was not born today. It was born of our own evil. And now, the death has come due." No one spoke after that. Even the birds stayed quiet. The villagers realized something terrible. The curse didn't come from outside. It came from them, from their past, their silence, their cruelty. And Adoni, now known as Ayagon, had not forgotten. Nor had she forgiven. 3 days later, something strange happened at the river. Oloro's river, which had always run clear and cool, suddenly turned red. Not red like wine or palm oil, red like blood. Thick, dark, and it stank. The women who came to fetch water screamed and dropped their calabashes. The sound of breaking clay filled the air as the river bubbled like boiling stew. The chief was called. The elders came. Even Mama Nimi stood at the riverbank, covering her nose. One elder whispered, "Is it the blood of the children?" No one dared answer. Suddenly, from the middle of the river, a single calabash floated up, one no one had brought. It spun slowly, like it was dancing. And then, it cracked open by itself. Inside were 3 tiny dolls, each one carved from wood and wrapped in black cloth. Tied around their necks were the names of the missing children, Amina, Chigozie, Solma. The chief stepped back, trembling. What does this mean? And then Mama Nimi said something that chilled every soul there. It means she still has them. And they are still alive, for now. That night, a cold fog covered the village. No stars. No moon. The air was too heavy to breathe. People gathered in one house, too afraid to sleep alone. They sang songs. They cried. Some prayed for forgiveness. Others just stared into space, their minds breaking under the weight of the unknown. And outside, beyond the fog, standing by the same river, Ayagon washed. Her dark cloth flowed like smoke. Her chalk-white eye glowed faintly. She touched the river with her fingers, and the water turned black. She whispered to the wind. No one heard her words. But the river did. And Oloro village was running out of time. For days, Oloro village lived in fear. People no longer walked alone. The marketplace was silent. No one dared to leave their children's sight. Then one night, the drums returned. But these were not drums played by human hands. They beat slowly, deeply, like a heartbeat echoing from the underworld. Dum, dum, dum. They came from the forest. The same forest that everyone was warned never to enter. The people gathered again at the village square, faces pale, lips dry. They listened. The drums seemed to call names, whispers riding the rhythm like ghost. Omina. Chigozai. Salma. Mama Amina collapsed in tears. She's calling them again. She's not finished. Mama Nimi stood, voice firm. No. She's showing us where to find them. The forest holds the answer. But no one wanted to go. Not even the brave hunters. The forest was cursed. Everyone knew that. It swallowed people whole. Then a young voice spoke. A child, Ao, only 12 years old, stepped forward. I saw her, in my dream. Everyone turned to him. She was in the forest, standing in front of a house made of mud and bones. She told me that if no one came by the 7th night, the children would become shadows, forever. The chief shook his head. It could be a trap. Mama Nimi snapped. Of course it's a trap. But the curse won't end by sitting and shaking like leaves. We have to face what we buried. There was silence. Then, Mama Amina did something no one expected. She picked up her walking stick and tied her wrapper tighter. If my daughter is in that forest, then that's where I'm going. Mama Nimi nodded and joined her. And to everyone's shock, Ao followed behind them. I saw the path, he said. I can lead you. So 3 of them, an old woman, a grieving mother, and a child, stepped into the forest together. The drums grew louder as they vanished into the trees. And behind them, Oloro village held its breath. The forest was no ordinary forest. As soon as Mama Nimi, Mama Amina, and young Ao stepped beneath the first set of thick branches, the world changed. The air grew colder. The trees leaned in, like they were listening. The path ahead twisted like a snake, never straight, never still. Ao walked in front, his eyes wide but focused. He held a small gourd around his neck, a charm Mama Nimi gave him for protection. The boy had no fear. Or maybe, he just had a strong heart. Mama Amina whispered prayers as they walked. God, let me find my daughter. Please. Mama Nimi said. The forest remembers everything, even what we try to forget. Be careful what you say. Even your breath is being washed. They walked for what felt like hours. And then, the trees began to speak. Not with words, but with sounds. Cracking, moaning, whispering. Leaves brushed their cheeks even when there was no wind. Roots tried to grab at their ankles. Shadows moved without reason. Suddenly, Ao stopped. This is the place, he said, pointing ahead. Before them stood a strange house. Just like in his dream, made of cracked mud, held together with sticks and bones. Skulls hung from the doorway like decorations. And around it, the air was thick like smoke, though no fire burned. They approached slowly. Mama Amina trembled. Her eyes scanned every corner, looking, hoping. Then, from behind the house, a voice called. Mama. It was Amina's voice. Mama Amina ran, tears flying from her eyes. And there she was, her daughter, sitting under a tree, eyes half closed, skin pale. Chigazi and Salma were beside her, also weak but alive. But before anyone could touch them, the air changed. The drums stopped. And Ayagon stepped out from the shadows. You came, she said softly. Good. Now the real test begins. The forest fell silent. Even the trees held their breath. Ayagon stood in front of the broken mud house, her cloth dragging across the ground like smoke. Her black and white eyes glowed softly under the dark canopy of trees. She didn't attack. She didn't scream. She just waited. Mama Nimi stepped forward, voice calm but strong. Adoni, we know who you are. And we are ready to answer. For the first time, the witch's face twitched. A tear ran down her cheek, but it wasn't a tear of sorrow. It was a tear of memory. Then speak, she said. Speak the truth that Oloro village buried. Mama Nimi nodded slowly. She turned to Eo. Listen well, child. And remember, this is not just her story. It is yours too. She turned back to Iagon. 100 years ago, your name was Adoni. You were the village's healer. Your hands brought life. But when the chief's son died from fever, the people feared your power. They blamed you and killed you without proof, without mercy. Iagon closed her eyes. Mama Nimi continued. The chief's wife even lied to protect her own pride. She said you were jealous of her son. But that wasn't true. You were only trying to save him. Iagon opened her eyes slowly. The trees creaked around them. And now, she asked, voice like thunder beneath the ground. What does Oloro village say now? Mama Amina dropped to her knees. We were wrong, she said. Even if it wasn't me who did it, our silence was part of the sin. Please, don't punish our children for the darkness we carried. For a long time, Iagon said nothing. Then she raised one hand. A glowing fire appeared in her palm. One of you must drink from the fire, she said, and carry my pain. Only then will the children be free. Eo stepped forward without hesitation. I will, he said. Iagon looked at him, truly looked, and her hand trembled. Was she about to release them? Or burn everything? The forest held its breath. And the fire danced in her hand, waiting. Eo stood still, his small hands open, eyes fixed on the fire in Iagon's palm. The flame didn't burn like normal fire. It flickered in colors, blue, purple, even black. It looked alive, as if it had a soul of its own. It whispered, just like she did. Iagon stared at him for a long time. You are just a boy, she said softly. Do you even understand what it means to carry pain that is not yours? Eo nodded slowly. I don't know everything. But I know that if we don't carry it, it will carry us. Forever. Even Mama Nimi looked at him in shock. That kind of wisdom didn't come from a child. It came from something deeper, something older. Iagon's eyes shimmered. She moved closer. The fire reached toward Eo's chest like a hand. This fire, she whispered, holds my memory. My grief. My betrayal. If you carry it, you will see what I saw. Feel what I felt. You may not survive it. Eo didn't move. He closed his eyes. And the fire entered him. Not through his mouth. Not through his hands. It entered his heart. His body lifted off the ground. His mouth opened, but no scream came out. His eyes rolled back. Mama Amina shouted and tried to run to him, but Mama Nimi held her back. Don't touch him, she warned. The fire must finish its work. Visions filled the air, visible to all. Like a story being told through smoke and light. They saw Adoni in her younger days,